Welcome to section A2. We're dealing with the operations of matrices. I want to start by what a matrix looks like. We did work in the first section with augmented matrices, and in this section we won't. But we know that matrices generally are represented with uppercase letters. And again, we start usually with A, B, C, things like that. So I'm just going to start there. As we look at a matrix A, we know that inside a matrix there are things called elements. And in Algebra 2, we just asked you how many elements. We didn't necessarily label them. And if I want to label an element in the 8th row in the second column, the way I write it is A with a sub 8 2. And that says to me element in the 8th row, second column of matrix A. And so if you look, and I label just a couple of elements, let's say this were a 2 by 2 matrix, I would have the element in row 1, column 1, the element in row 1, column 2, and the element in row 2, column 1, and the element in row 2, column 2. And again, it would keep going depending on the order of your matrix, and order just means dimensions, but let's go really basic there. Okay, now let's look at an intro question where we ask you to add matrices together. If I look at this says find the element in the second row and first column of the resultant matrix. And what we can do to shorthand this a little bit is take the element 2, 1 in matrix A and the element in 2, 1 in matrix B. So if I go to row 2, column 1 in A, that's a 2, and row 2, column 1 in B, that's a 1, so 2 plus 1 equals 3. Okay, and that's basically the idea of matrix addition, is you're adding corresponding elements. So if I look at the matrix A plus B, I'm just going to add each one. So 3 plus 4 makes 7, negative 4 and negative 2 is negative 6, 5 and 1 is 6, 2 and 1 we just did was 3, 7 and 2 makes 9, and negative 3 and 5 makes 2. And so you end up getting this sum matrix. And again, the order in which, in order to be able to add them, the order must be the same. This was a 2 by 3 matrix, and so was matrix B, and that is why you can add them, because they have the same number of elements in the same corresponding position. Let's move up a second and multiply. As I look at this, if I want to multiply 8 times matrix A, I just take each element in the matrix times 8. So as I go through, let's do this. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 7 is 56. And 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. And that's the basic idea, and I think you guys are fine with that. Let's look at going beyond that, though. What if I asked you 8a minus 2b? Because this section, again, and all of the stuff that we're doing really should be done without a calculator, you're going to want to show all the work you can. So we just did 8a, so I'm just going to rewrite this matrix a second. And then I'm going to have to find 2b, because that's something we haven't done yet. Okay, so here's 8a. Let's look at subtracting the matrix for 2b. And if I multiply b times 2, I get the matrix 8, negative 4, 2, 2, 4, 10. And if I'm subtracting them, it's the same thing as addition. You just do the corresponding elements. So 24 minus 8 is 16. Negative 32 minus a negative, so plus 4, is negative 28. 40 minus 2 is 38. 16 minus 2 is 14, 56 minus 4 is 52, and lastly, negative 24 minus 10 is negative 34. And so this is our end result as we take the product, or the, the difference of 8a minus 2b. Now there are properties here below listed on page 90. Please go to page 90 and fill these in. So fill these in for your notes points. They talk about things like the commutative property, associative property, multiplying by the identity. I mean, they go through all of that. And so that is a review. And so to save some time on the video, I'm going to skip that. But let's move to the next page since you guys are going to fill those in. We want to look at this idea of matrix multiplication. And in Algebra 2, you guys did this, but most of the time you did this with your calculators because we allowed you to. In pre-calc, we're not going to allow you to anymore because, again, quiz 8.1 to 8.3 is a no calculator quiz. Let's just talk about matrix multiplication in general. Again, the inner dimensions have to match in order to multiply. And that's one thing. So when you go through, you're going to want to write your dimensions so that you know that they can multiply. The outer dimensions then tell you your resultant matrix. So I'm going to write out our two matrices first. 2, 3, -1, 5, 4, -2. And I'm multiplying it by matrix B. Okay, now let's look at dimensions a second. This is a 3-row by 2 column. This is a 2-row by 3 column. You'll notice the inner dimensions match, which is a good thing. That means the outer dimensions tell us what we're going to end with. So we need to end with a 3 by 3. Now, I'm going to walk you through again with no calculator because you don't get a calculator on the quiz. So, and I'm going to switch colors along the way for each row so that you can see it. Now, when you multiply row by column. And so I'm going to start there. So you take your row, so 2 times the first element, 2, plus 3 times -5. And that's row 1, column 1, which is the element 1, 1. And then I do it again. I take row 1, column 2, because I need the element in 1, 2. So I take 2 times 3 plus 3 times 3. And then I go one last time. Row 1, column 3 to get element 1, 3. So 2 times 4 plus 3 times 2. And I wrote them all out first just truthfully because I'm trying to judge size here. But let's take a look at it. 2 times 2 is 4 plus -15, so -11. 6 plus 9 is 15. And then 8 plus 6 is 14. So then I get a row 1 with 3 elements. So let's go another color and let's try this again. Now, because I'm looking for the element in 2, 1, I go row 2, column 1. So I take -1 times 2 plus 5 times -5. And in this case, because I already know my size spacing, I'm just going to add them. So -2 and -25 is -27. And then I go the next one. Because I want the element in 2, 2, I go row 2, column 2. So -1 times 3 plus 5 times 3. So -3 plus 15 is 12. And then I go one more time. Row 2 by column 3. So -1 times 4 plus 5 times 2. -4 plus 10 gives me 6. All right, last one. 3rd row, 1st column. So 4 times 2 plus -2 times -5. 10 and 8 gives us 18. 3rd row, 2nd column. So 4 times 3 plus -2 times 3. 12 and -6 just makes 6. And last but not least, 3rd row, 3rd column. So 4 times 4 plus -2 times 2. -4 plus 16 gives you 12. And so this is my resultant matrix, our product matrix if you want. And again, it's 3 by 3 in dimensions, which is what we said we should end up with when we start. So let's try the opposite way. And again, you should pause the video and try this on your own and then verify kind of as we go through. So I'm going to write this out first. and 1/3 on this side, we end up getting that x is 1/3 times b minus a. And I apologize for that. So let's start again. 1/3 times, all right, matrix B looks like -2, 2, 1, 3 minus 3, -1, 1, 4. Okay, which is 1/3 times the matrix. All right, let's try this again. -5, 2 minus -1 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. 3 minus 4 is -1. And if you take each of those times 1/3, please leave your answer in fraction form. -5/3, 1, 0, -1/3. And if you set it up as a matrix equation ahead of time, then it's, I think, easier along the way to just do the work. Okay, and again, I apologize for that mistake. Take a look at the last one. We want to get you back a little bit into Algebra 2, and we want to set up a matrix equation, which means they've got to have an equal sign. Okay, and so let's go back, and in Algebra 2, here's what we did. We made what we called the coefficient matrix, which were just the numbers, you know, in front of the x, y, and z. So 2, there is no y, -1. 1, -2, 3, and 0, 12, 4. And we called that the coefficient matrix. And then we multiplied by this matrix x, which really just meant the letters x, y, and z, equals, and we did then our constants after that. That's a huge, we don't need that much space, so let's try again. Our constants were 3, 11, and -32. Okay, and this was our matrix equation, and we talked about in Algebra 2, we labeled this matrix A times X equals, then we labeled our constant matrix B. And what we're going to do tomorrow is talk about how to solve this equation in the Algebra 2 version and then in the pre-calc version. So that's the end of section 8.2. Thanks for watching. Again, if you get a chance, start the homework. Just remember, as you do things, no calculator.